Welcome back to Inside Politics. Our guest today is Nashville Mayor Megan Barry, who just made her first State of Metro and budget address. Mayor, your speech was sort of shadowed by a silent vigil, sort of in protest of your administration's move to clear out the Fort Negley camp where the homeless were staying. Your spokesperson said holding the vigil was certainly within that group's First Amendment rights to do that. But this may be an issue that where you and those who are doing the silent vigil may just have to agree to disagree?
Well, I think, clearly my goal is to try to find options for people who are experiencing homelessness and move those into housing.
And this has been going on since before you left, before you came into office.
It's been going on for a long time.
Is it frustrating because you go out and offer individual help to these folks, but in some cases it feels like they don't really particularly want help, or not the help you're being offered?
I think that there's lots of different pieces of this, but our commitment has been to try to identify places, which we did, for all the folks at Fort Negley to go. And my vision for our public parks is not to have open encampments. Well,
there is some talk about a group trying to push the idea that the city would have official homeless camps in various parts of town. Is that something that you have any interest in doing at all, based on what you just said a minute ago?
Having open encampments in our public parks is not my vision for our public parks.
Now, another part of the affordable housing issue, and certainly homelessness is part of that, is making investments to try to get more affordable housing opportunities. You are putting $10 million in additional funds this year into the Barnes Fund, which may help get more of those outdone.
And it will bring it to $16 million. It's the most any administration's ever had in the Barnes Fund.
I'm beginning to hear, though, even though that is the most money we've ever put into that, there's already a little bit of a fight coming off of it as to whether we ought to put most of that money in the extra $10 million into home ownership opportunities versus rental opportunities. Both of them have great needs, but
right.
So how do you decide which way those projects go?
Well, at the moment it's about our partners. So we just announced 12th Avenue South and Wedgwood, where those units, that are 110 of them that are going to be workforce housing, are going to be rental units. But we also have to have opportunities for home ownership.
Now, in a lot of cases, you seem to be building the plan primarily around incentives and partnerships that you can build with people in the private sector and maybe in the independent sector. But there are others who would rather see this done on a more inclusionary zoning basis, that it's in the code. If you're going to build additional housing in town, so many units have to be affordable. But it looks like the state legislature has taken that off the table.
I think the state legislature
has. Is that how you feel about that? And
yes.
That's not going to be part of the plan? You're not going to fight City Hall on that particular part?
I think at the end of the day, we have to have this be a co-effort. We need developers to build us the housing that we need, but we also need the housing that we need for the citizens. So we need to be on the same page on this, and I think we can be there. I think the state has taken that off the table, so we'll see what happens.
Another matter that the state sort of took off the table was the charter amendment that Metro approved that would have required 40% of the workers on local jobs for Metro above $10,000, and that would be just about every project
Sure.
that you have to be local people. Now that that's off the board, you said you were going to continue in some way to try to figure out how that might still work. So what are you doing, and what kind of success or progress are you having in that area?
Well, we've actually had tremendous progress. One of the first things that we did when we came into office was to bring around the table labor, the developers, and to say what we really are talking about is helping people get to jobs. And so working with the Nashville Career Advancement Center and these apprenticeships programs, we're actually creating a pipeline for folks in the construction industry to have access to these jobs.
And we talked about underemployed and people that perhaps are discouraged to be in the workforce, and they may or may not be included in that 3.1%, but given the low number, the fact that we need skilled workers is probably the area of most concern of what we could have really good jobs ready for people right away if they had the skills to do it.
Correct, and that's where we're focused on helping those folks get those skills so that they can be employed.
In about 3 minutes we've got left, I want to take just a couple of questions about
Sure.
the speech itself. Now, mayors make lots of speeches. Almost everywhere you go, people want you to get up and have a few remarks. But the State of Metro address is always the different one. It's always the
Yep.
big one every year. So how long ago did you get started preparing to do this speech? Did you write it? How much of it did you write yourself, or was it a staff effort?
Sure. So, we started preparing for this speech when we came into office, because everything that's in it is
7 months in the making.
Well, the stuff that we put into the speech is the stuff that we've been thinking about and doing, and it was an opportunity for me and my team to showcase where we believe Nashville should go, and I think we did.
One media report that I've seen after the speech sort of said, well, it didn't have a signature proposal in it. wasn't that the point? That's not your style.
Well, I guess, right. There are many proposals in this, all of which are significant funding opportunities, and I think that transit, affordable housing, education, pay increase for Metro employees, those are all signature pieces.
Now, you started, or you continued a tradition that your predecessor, Carl Dean, started, which is bringing on some of Nashville's wonderful musicians to come and sort of warm up the crowd with what they're going to do. You started with the bang with Peter Frampton.
Yes, I think
how many
so.
mayors get to have Peter Frampton or somebody from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame being their warm-up act?
I tell you, it was pretty amazing.
And that had personal significance for you?
It did. His album was the first album I bought when I was a teenager, and it was pretty amazing to have him sit there and sing.
So 7 months on the job, is this the first time you had that sort of feeling that, okay, being mayor is really the true indication, since you were raised out in the Midwest, that you're not in Kansas anymore?
I think it was. As I said, having Peter Frampton open for me was pretty fabulous.
Is this job and everything you thought it would be?
And a whole lot more.
No surprises?
Well, every
Maybe
day.
things you didn't expect?
Well, I think you roll with the punches, but there's definitely a lot of things going on in our great city, and it's a great time to be the mayor.
Mayor Berry, thank you for coming in. I know we'll have you back here in the
Pat,
future.
thank you so much. Anytime.
And thank you for joining us on Inside Politics. Hope you can be back here again for a future show. If you can't get enough politics in the meantime, go to the News Channel 5 website. You'll find my Capitol View commentary there. There's new commentary posted every Friday afternoon. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we'll see you back next time. Goodbye.